So what we're going to do, I just got done speaking with her, so she should be joining us live here any moment right now. And there she is, and we're going to jump on. There she is. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Is everything okay? Everything still good? We good?
Everything is going great. Excited to finally get to chat with you.
I know, right? Oh my goodness. Forgive me. I have a cold, so it's not Rona, but it is a code. So I'm
Okay.
grateful for that. What's that? You said what?
As long as it's not Corona, you good.
I know, I know. I am so sorry. I have to put Eastern time on these flyers because this is the second time this happened. My last guy, Jared Wilkins, he said the exact same thing. So he lives in Texas. So it was the exact same problem. So I apologize for looking like I'm rushing you when it was actually my fault for not letting you know it was Eastern time.
No, I'm glad we're able to get it in. I was like, those time differences always get me too.
Yeah, how's everything going with you?
Same, everything's going good. I'm just, doing a lot of things at once, like all of us during COVID. We're masters of many.
I know, right? It's going crazy right now. So uh, I'm so grateful that you decided to jump on here with me. I'm not going to take a lot of your time. The whole point of this is to have like a mini snapshot, a mini conversations with people that I'm connected to or people that I admire, that I think has something positive to share, especially for 2020, because 2020 is absolutely crazy. It's a year
Right?
that none of us has experienced before. I don't believe any of us experienced a year like this. And so, with everything going on from the social unrest to the pandemic to the presidential election to killer hornets to now they talking about UFOs, things
Right.
out of town. It's a crazy year, right? So,
Absolutely.
and people are stuck at home. And I thought this would be awesome if we can just have a snapshot, give them just a dose or a shot of people's story that are influential, people that are doing some great things, and just give some inspiration to some people for just a moment so they can chew on
Yeah,
something and keep going. And so
absolutely.
obviously you was one of the people that I absolutely had to try to reach out to get on. So I know how busy you are. So I thought I would jump and do that. Okay.
Good. Well, I'm totally open to that. Honestly, my story is just like so amazing. Sometimes I'm even like just amazed that God has just like done what he's done with my life. I never expected it. You know what I mean? As you kind of like are living, you just never expect for God to show up like he does for you. You've seen
Yeah.
it for other people. You heard about it in the Bible, but it's just something that you don't hear in a lot of other places.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so you have a lot that is going on in your life right now, even right now where you are. I know there are people probably around you that look like you're busy and working.
No, it's
I
so
know what it
fun.
is.
Yeah. Always
I
like
know,
that.
I
Never
know what it
stop.
is. I'm looking at you and I'm seeing you put signals, low-key
I'm like,
signals
go
to
away,
people.
go
I know.
away.
Go ahead, go ahead. I see you. I see you. I know how it is. Yeah, that's great. So
Yeah,
feel free to
man, it's
tell them what
okay.
you got to tell them. It is okay.
I
It's not
just did.
bothering
I
me.
just told them about that, and now we're good. We're good.
We're good. Okay, so let's
Yeah.
jump into a couple questions. I just want to ask you a couple things real quick, and I'm gonna let you get back to being busy.
So it's
Uh,
fine.
so, who is Jackie Horbrook? Who is she? Tell me, or tell the people because this will be rewatched. Who is Jackie Horbrook?
I would like to think that I'm just like a regular person. I always say I'm a nerd. I've never really been like the person to want to kind of be up front all the time. But, for me, it's just been like this gradual growth process of just becoming whoever God wants me to be. So,
Yeah.
obviously I'm an educator. I've been experienced with working at a university. I have a lot of even experience with working with children and counseling. So, I could say I'm a lot of things, but the most important, of course, for me is just being like an open and willing vessel for whatever God wants me to do. If it's like scrubbing toilets one day, I'm that. If it's being a bridesmaid one day, which is what I am right now, or
Oh,
if it's just
okay.
like doing other things, just whatever Christ asks me to do, I'm trying to fill in the gaps for that.
Yeah, for sure. No, that is great. So were you born and raised in Chicago or?
Yeah, yeah. Born and raised in Chicago, lived here my entire life, and so it's just been something that's always been a part of me. I've never really like been outside for like maybe a few trips, but outside of that, all the way Chicago, suburbs, kind of. That's really my main spaces where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So Chicago, Chi-Town. So you over there with a lot of great pastors is over there actually in Chicago. So
Yeah.
born and raised in Chicago. Uh, what was the moment that everybody has this aha moment where things kind of switch for them? So for me, I was 21 years old when things clicked for me and I got serious about my walk with Christ and my whole perspective of life changed and my life went from going here to going here. And so I like to ask people, what was the aha moment or that clicking moment for you where, you know what, you finally figured out this is it. And that was the change in my life that I needed to change.
Man, it obviously was a progression, but I think it was when I was separated from my ex-husband. He
Mhm.
had severe PTSD, and I wasn't ready for that. Like, I built my life. I got the white picket fence. We had the dog.
Right.
I really expected to have that life that I created, right? And so the aha moment came when something that no one could have expected, his severe PTSD to become so like severe that it affected his just way that he viewed life and how he interacted. And so I had to reevaluate my safety, and with that, like totally everything was turned upside down. And that was the aha moment where I'm like, okay, I can't do it my way. It's not going to work out how I planned it. And so, I have to do this differently. And I gave Christ like full authority and control. And when I did that, I tell you, like, things shifted, like God began to do things and move in ways that I never expected. Like
Yeah.
BCI, nothing would have prepared me to say that this is what I would be doing with my life. But, when I kind of yielded to him, it just kind of flew. The ideas, the creativity, the messaging on how to do it every day, like all of that came from the yield. It just
Yeah.
had to start there though, because if I never started with yielding, then I never would have gotten to this place where I'm able to follow him daily, which is what it is to run a business like this.
Yeah, for sure. So for you, it was a pain point, right? A point of a fiery time. So, and that was the same for me. That was the same for Jared that I asked 2 weeks ago. It's a low moment that we go through, and at that
Yeah,
point, it's a moment where we say, you know what, I can't do it by myself, and we look up, and then as a result of that surrendering moment or that yielding moment,
right.
you call it, is when everything completely changes for us, right? So I think that's phenomenal. And it was that. So you think you had to go through those types of things in order for you to get rid of what you thought life would be in order to take on his?
I think so. Like God does it all through the Bible, but you just, you never see it for your life of how he will take you through like the Jonah experience, of just kind of being able to like, have your moment where you think you're going to get away. You think you're going to do your own thing and get away from what he's called for you to do. But the process of you running creates this testimony that can only make you stronger in your belief in Christ. Like the way that he pursued me made me even more firmer in the fact that I knew I had something that had to be given. Like I knew that it was something special about what he had for me to do. And like he had this relentless pursuit. And that for me is like what it took it all for me. Like, okay, I can't run from this. I can't hide. I can't keep doing what I want because it's not going to work.
Right, right. That's amazing, and I'm glad you said that because I think people need to hear that and know that a lot of times when we go through, God is allowing us to go through that because He wants us, right? And that fiery times, I tell people all the time, fiery times doesn't come to destroy us or kill us, but it really comes to expose us and
Right.
show us who we are and show us where we are and where we're supposed to be going. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So that was the moment that clicked for you. And
Mm-hmm.
at that moment, you said, you know what? What am I going to do? Did you know what you were going to do? Or did you just figure out, you know what? I'm just going to go with God. And wherever He goes, I go.
Yeah, I think that was it, because I had no idea where he would take me. I really just thought that maybe it was going to be like a minister. You know, I've seen so many people just, you know, kind of preach on Sundays and kind of go from there, but I never anticipated that it would, you know, evolve into what it is. But I think for me, once you start listening to God and he trusts you that you're going to follow what he says, you know,
Yes.
he gives you more to do. You know, it started off with one thing and then it's like, okay, you can follow directions. Good. Let me give you something else. You know, next thing you know, he's filled your plate with so many things that you never anticipated that, you know, he's just overflowing it.
Wow. So I wrote something on Facebook that says exactly what you just said.
Wow.
Yesterday, I said, I'm not special. I'm just obedient. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of people probably look at you and say, oh my goodness, this lady is so successful. And it happened quick, people, by the way, at least from what we know. Right. We don't know the grind. We don't know the prayer nights. We don't know the fasting. We don't know the flesh and the crucifying of the flesh you've had to go through, I'm sure, well before we even met, right? But you know, it's not the fact that we're necessarily special, but it's just the fact that you were obedient and you chose to be obedient to what God told you to do, and you're a testament to what people's lives can be if they choose just to surrender to Him. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's exactly what, you know, I think happened for me. I never wanted to be like someone who had this great, like thriving, successful business in front of people. Like influencers at one point to me were just something I didn't know anything about, you know, and that for me is kind of like how God does. He takes people that are not trying to be in the front, not trying to be, you know, in the limelight, and just kind of elevates them to where he's called them to be, which is, you know, to help others to kind of grow in their faith.
absolutely, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. But you do more than just Black Christian influences, which we'll talk about very briefly, really quick soon.
Yeah.
But you also do counseling. So you have a master's in education with a focus in counseling, right?
Yep.
And where did the whole counseling thing come from? Because that's where my master's is in as well.
Oh, I didn't
So,
know that.
yeah,
Nice.
it's in counseling. So where did this come from you?
Yeah, so actually, I have my master's in counseling. And, you know, honestly, before BCI, Black Christian Influencers, came about,
Okay.
I was working on a counseling cafe. And that was really what I thought like was going to be my thing, working in the community. I'm from Inglewood, Chicago, is where my church is at. And that's where I really wanted to kind of help the community, provide free counseling services. And, you know, from that, be able to kind of really evolve a counseling services place,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And God kind of like took that and was like, okay, you're going to do that and
And,
and some more. And so, you know, my true first love, I guess, if I have a pursuit, was counseling, because I love talking to people. I love helping individuals get through things. And that was just kind of like what I thought I was going to be doing with my life. But
that's
God had other plans.
phenomenal. No, I said that's phenomenal, and that's phenomenal because it's very similar to me, because I always feel like I had a gift for communicating with people and helping dissect people and helping them to figure out their issues, and I kind of get that feel that that is something that you have a gift in as well, which is
Yeah.
what God was obviously moving you into, and the counseling cafe, which you're still doing, by the way.
Yeah. Still doing it. Still
And
doing it.
so that is on its way, even in 2020. When can people expect to see that?
Yeah, so we're trying to, before COVID happened, we were planning to have it kind of open up in August.
Yep.
But, you know, with everything that's happened, we're just kind of waiting for the right time for God to release it. You
Yep.
know, we know that his timing is best. As
Yep.
much as we want to plan, you know, God has bigger ones, and we're just going to wait on that. In the meantime, we're still just kind of like building the place. We have decorating to do. You know, it's always something to do. I'm just grateful that God has given us the capacity to build it and not be in debt. You know, he's just
Yeah.
allowing for us to do it in a way that's going to hopefully edify the community when it's time. So I'm not in a rush, but, you know, we're just waiting for that stuff to kind of calm down so we can really do what we're supposed to.
I'm loving it. That is awesome. That is awesome. So, uh, let me ask you this question. So, how did you form BCI? So, to people that don't know, that's Black Christian Influencers, and it was about a year and a half ago, right? Rough,
Yeah.
roughly a year and a half ago, because I know we saw each other at an award show in Columbus,
Right,
uh,
right.
almost a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago. I
It
don't.
was about half, I think.
Yeah, about that time. And so you launched it a couple of months prior to that, and it
Hmm.
blew up out of nowhere. Like, it's huge. It's everywhere. And
Right.
obviously, I don't know if you thought that it was going to become this. But
No.
where did it start from? Where did it come from?
Well, honestly, while I was building that counseling cafe that I told you about, I was basically waiting for contractors. And in my waiting for contractors to come and do things that they had to do for the construction, I started this group of Black Christian influencers. And for
Yeah,
me, it was just a way to bring together people that were like-minded,
yeah,
because I started to feel like, man, I don't know a lot of people that are like really trying to innovate and, make a difference in the world like I am, that are Christians, that maybe aren't preachers. And so I wanted to bring them together. And when I started to do that, I just realized, like, man, so many dope people. I really need to share them, right? And so
yeah,
I started sharing them on this page I created, Black Christian Influencers, and it just started to grow so rapidly, by
right.
the hundreds a week. And I was like, wow, this is like really picking up really quickly. And so I just decided, like, man, let's make something of it. Then we started to form groups. We
Yeah,
finally added more services and opportunities, and obviously we added the membership portion onto
yeah,
it that brings a lot of other benefits. And now it's a full-blown career for me. So many things happening with chapters now, even developing in cities, and a conference going to be happening hopefully in 2021. But never would have imagined it. It's nothing that was planned out, written on a business plan somewhere. You won't find it
yeah.
because that was that.
I love that you said that
Yeah.
because people always say, and I've been in business my whole life. My undergrad is in business, and I always writing it down and planning for it, and I'm always for that. However, there's some moments that's just inspirational moments that the Lord just drops something into you that you
Mm,
had not planned for at all. I
right.
mean, you did not sit down and think about it. It just happened in the spirit, just immediately, and just straight from heaven, downloaded into your heart. And
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
where it came from. And
Mhm.
that sometimes is the most powerful things to happen, I believe.
Absolutely. And when you listen, when he drops it, that's probably like the most important piece.
Yeah.
Sometimes we write it off like, oh, I have to have this, I have to have money and do all
Yeah.
this. Like, I had no fun starting BCI. A
Yeah.
lot of the things that I did, it was just things that came to me after I started it. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to create it. And maybe I'll be starting to create my own design. And then someone will say, hey, do you need like a graphic designer? And I'm like,
See? Come
yeah,
on
I do
now.
actually, and it'll just come to you like that as you're doing the work.
See, you just move, and that's why it's provision. He's providing
Exactly.
for the vision. Come on, just inspire us today, why don't you? Come
That's
on, I love
it.
it,
It's
right?
a special formula to it, right? It's just following Jesus. Can you follow him
Come
and
on.
be faithful enough to know that he will provide,
Yes.
as you go forth? You don't have to have all the answers. And sometimes we think too much. Us over analytical people, as I am, we just want all the answers, and God don't operate like that. He
I
wants you to,
know. Come on, follow faith. Faith and following,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Okay, I know you got to get back to your thing. So a couple more questions. So 2020's been crazy. What is your feeling about 2020? More so in the sense of how has it affected your plans? I think you mentioned that about the cafe, but how has it affected your plans? How are you pivoting? How are you responding to it? And how would you encourage people to respond to it?
Yeah, I mean, just be flexible. Don't hold on to it. Like, don't make something forced into a place that is not supposed to be. I think a lot of people are still trying to force things to happen.
Yep, yep,
We need to listen and be sensitive to God right now. For us, we really wanted this conference to happen. It was supposed to happen at the end of July, right? And, it was obviously something we planned for. We had sponsors and all these great advertising and marketing things planned, literally, that was supposed to hold us over. Right now is supposed to be my vacation time, after having a big conference,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
He gave me an early vacation, and he was like,
Right.
no, we're not even going to do that. I want you to completely pivot. And so, just being sensitive to God. And that's when he said, okay, instead of doing the conference, I want you to focus on this chapter development. Like, it's a lot of times to put
Wow.
things in place, like to actually make sure that it's sustainable and, really concrete in the foundation. And, being able to hear that and not just be like, well, we're going to do a conference. Well, if we can't do it now, we're gonna make it happen, and we're gonna all wear masks. And just like sometimes just listen to God, let it go. Let the world just kind of settle on its own. God is gonna put everything in place the way it's supposed to be, and on its time, in God's timing, which is for me like just so amazing. It's just so beautiful. It's going to be better than you intended it for it to be.
For
It's
sure.
going to work, you know, and that's what I'm basically all 2020 about is God's timing for me is when I will be okay with it happening. Anything before or after, I'm just going to have to chill, you
I
know?
know, I know. Because I think all of us had plans. I had some plans too. I thought this year was gonna be my year, my next year. I'm like, ooh, I had all this stuff coming, and then Rona came in and just wrecked all my plans. I said,
Exactly.
"What are you doing?" But it wasn't Rona. It was the Lord saying, "You know what? Let's try something else right now." So
Exactly.
yeah,
Are you going to listen though? Just don't fight it. Don't fight it. I'm
right.
telling you, you're going to be like Jonah swallowed up in the well.
Come on, I'm sure that was disgusting, and I don't want none of that. You know, we don't want none of that. So, as a female, you are the CEO of your business, the founder of BCI, Counseling Cafe. I'm sure many more things to come. And so, as a female, how is that? How have you navigated those times as a female? Because a lot of females say it's tougher for them in business, but then statistics say women are better than men in business. So I'm trying to see what do you feel as a female? How has that journey been for you?
Yeah, I think it's hard because sometimes people are, you know, looking at you down. They don't want to like, you know, see how much you have to offer and they don't recognize that. But it's just for me being okay with that, using it as a strength. I sometimes just be like, okay, fine. You want to make it as a negative. I'm going to show you how you shouldn't have underestimated me. And now we're going to kind of like blow it out the water. And that's been like the experience, you know, like God sometimes uses the people you don't expect. David, nobody would have expected that he came up there and like knocked that big old giant out. But
Yeah.
you know, that's sometimes how women have to be. We have to be, you know, the underdog and looked upon as not as sufficient. But, you know, again, that's what God likes to use. So if he's okay with it, I am.
Yes, yes. Okay. I love it. I agree. So what I'm gonna do is gonna throw some names at you. And I just
Okay.
want you to tell me what's the first thing that comes to your heart, okay?
All right.
All right, BCI.
Expanding.
Expanding. Come on now. 2020.
Ugh. Rocky.
Come on, I love it. 21. 2021.
Oh man. Overflowing. I'm thinking that's gonna be our next portion.
I love it.
Yeah.
Jackson.
Busy. That's me.
Music. Because you sing and you play too.
Yeah, man. I love it, music. I love it. That's so I'll say love.
Yeah.
First love.
Music, I love it. I love it. Legacy.
Working on it.
I love it. Okay. And last question, your greatest lesson so far in quarantine or in 2020. What's that been?
Just be constant. Oh, what's the word? Focused. That's probably it. You
Sure.
know, don't let other people distract you too much because you can be feeling depressed. You can feel, you know, overwhelmed. You can feel deficient, and those emotions can overwhelm you if you let it. So, you know, you just got to be focused on your goal and continue to strive forward, and you're gonna reach it. So that's what I'm kind of like thinking that my main word or word is for the 2020 rest of it.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much, ladies and
No
gentlemen. Jackie
problem.
Horbrook, the founder of Black Christian Influencers and the powerful woman that she is. Thank you for everything what you've brought to our generation already. You know, our
Absolutely.
generation. Thank you so much because we needed something like this,
Yeah.
and God used you, and you said yes. And so I'm so glad you said yes. Thank you for saying yes.
Absolutely. I'll keep saying it.
Come on now, don't preach now, don't preach.
I'm not done now.
So it's getting dark. You got to get back to what you was get back to. Everybody, thank you so much. We'll be having other guests coming on, and I appreciate your time so much. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Enjoy the
Absolutely.
day.
You too. Bye bye. So thank you everybody for joining Lessons Learned in Quarantine. We'll be having somebody else in 2 weeks. We have another influencer, another person of great influence coming up. He's a bishop. I'll leave you at that. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. God bless you.